So good morning, everybody. We are in the second week of Genesis, and this week's Parsha is Noah. And this Parsha is jam-packed, as most of the Parshiot in Genesis are. It includes the story of the flood, the years after the flood, the story of the Tower of Babel, and at the end of the Parsha, we're introduced to Avram and Sarai, later to become Abraham and Sarah. So I am focusing entirely today on the flood. There are a couple of really important messages in this story. So one is a parallel to a discussion that we had last week. Last week, we recognized that there was chaos in the universe, and from that chaos, God created. So the chaos gave way to creation. And in Noah's generation, the people and their behavior created chaos. And God destroyed everything so that humankind could come back and create. It's my take. So clearly, I see an obvious parallel to today. Is the chaos that has been created by climate change, the pandemic, and the lack of civil discourse giving us the opportunity to create anew? And is this something that we need to really look at and strive toward? So that's one whole picture that came up for me in terms of the flood story. The other message that really intrigues me, and I see it as totally related, is the lesson about how to survive the flood or chaos, or how to survive when we feel flooded. You know, overwhelmed, that overwhelmed feeling, that's a sense of being flooded. So this clearly includes all the tensions around the election, challenging emotions of uncertainty and loss and grief, and pain, emotional pain of any kind. So the Parsha, I don't think, is about figuring out how to fight the flood. I think it's figuring out how to be in the flood and still survive. So I have this vision of my roiling emotions as the storm, as the flood. And I'm in Noah's Ark, and I'm somewhat protected, and I'm riding on top of this sea that is so chaotic and troublesome, the troubled waters, if you will. Tara Brach, who's a meditation teacher that many of you are very familiar with, uses the acronym RAIN, R-A-I-N, particularly appropriate when we're talking about a flood, it seems. So I want to spend a little time talking about this. R is for recognize. A is for allow or accept with compassion. I is investigate with gentle curiosity. And the N originally was for non-identification, like non-attachment to the outcome. But Tara has revised it recently for the N to stand for nourish or nurture ourselves. So to me, that's what meditation is all about. We sit and we recognize what comes up. Even in the middle of the storm, we pay attention. Then we need to allow or accept whatever it is without judgment and with some compassion for ourselves. The idea is to not get tangled up in the story, to not get pulled down into the undertow, and to simply allow. And we know it's simply not easy. When we recognize, then we need to move our attention to what we're noticing in our body. When we can stay with the physical sensations and breathe into them, we're less likely to drown in the sea of the story. Our body is doing what it does, and we allow that tight feeling in the chest or the shoulders, or the kind of fluttering in the stomach, or the aching knee, whatever it is. We simply allow it and don't try to change it. And maybe we breathe into it to help it soften. And this kind of acceptance is really, really critical, because when we tense up, we're fighting. And when we soften, we're allowing. And when we allow without judgment, we can stay on top of the chaos, on top of the roiling sea. So for today, I'm encouraging us as we sit together to focus on recognizing what's happening for you in the moment and allowing it with kindness and no harsh judgments. At a later time, or today, if you're practiced at this, you can move on and investigate with gentle curiosity what's really going on here, what's underneath, what's coming up on the surface, and be kind to yourself and understand that whatever it is that's going on is totally okay. Totally okay. So now let's sit in our alert yet relaxed position. And we'll take a couple of nice deep cleansing breaths. Inhaling fully and exhaling completely and slowly. And doing that a couple of more times at your own pace. And if you're comfortable, letting your eyelids gently close over your eyes. And if you would like to imagine yourself safely huddled on top of the seas, be my guest. And the other metaphor for staying on top of the waves that I often go to is the surfer who's on top of the waves. Paying attention to those waves, knowing them, and riding just above them. And should you notice any tight or tense places in your body, you might want to Imagine yourself breathing right into that place with each inhale, recognizing and allowing. As we return to the room, I am going to read The Little Duck by Donald Babcock. Now we are ready to look at something pretty special. It is a duck riding the ocean 100 feet beyond the surf, and he cuddles in the swells. There is a big heaving in the Atlantic, and he is part of it. He can rest while the Atlantic heaves because he rests in the Atlantic. Probably he doesn't know how large the ocean is, and neither do you. But he realizes. And what does he do, I ask you? He sits down in it. He reposes in the immediate as if it were infinity, which it is. That is religion, and the duck has it. I like the little duck. He doesn't know much, but he has religion. So my blessing is that maybe we can all take refuge in Noah's Ark and ride the waves.